They make it possible by the lead-in, and it's about leading from identity and not image. So be open. She brings heart, brilliance, and fearless. Fearless transformation. Please give it up for Angeligène. Brandy doesn't just launch companies, she launches movements. Let's welcome Brandy.
Godsrust, verlichting, geboren dicht bij geesten, kinderen die ziek zijn. Dit is een aanmaning, blijf staan en vecht. Ooit was ik een slecht kind met vele tijdzones. Tussen de weergave van mijn tinten en mijn fysieke verschijningsvorm ligt een eindeloze weg vol obstakels. Ik fungeer tussen werelden waarin de kleuren onveranderd door elkaar heen moeten vloeien. Kinderen die zich verzetten moeten worden gemanaged. Dit is het bericht voor kinderen die toch marcheren in paarse panties. De vreemde kinderen, de lelijke kinderen, de arme kinderen, de hopeloze kinderen, de waardeloze kinderen. Sin alma, sin país. Wij dragen het.
Had ik al 10 jaar geleden niet kunnen bedenken dat ik hier vandaag zou staan, omdat ik een digitaal assessment platform heb ontwikkeld. Om dat verborgen potentieel van mensen en organisaties zichtbaar te maken.
Good leaders talk. Great leaders listen. But exceptional leaders, they see what others miss. They hear what's not being said. The most powerful conversations start without words, without feeling. The energy is something that's going to unite us.
And as you can see, I look like a basketball player, and in my early banking days, I wanted to be respected as a serious banker. And then later I learned, like, okay, well, the world looks at me the way the world looks at me. And I need to use that to my advantage. So I need to play my angle, right? And then I understood, like, okay, it's actually fine that they think I'm a basketball player, and I'm gonna joke around with them a little bit. And I mentioned Korea because I used to work at ABN AMRO, and then you had Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, like everybody was pitching to these investors, and then here came ABN AMRO, which was like the small guy amongst these huge banks, but I knew they would remember our pitch because they remember the basketball guy, right? So sometimes it's good not to fight it, but just accept it and play your angle and steer the ship.
When my boss decided that I was going to be a petrochemicals director, for buying, and then I went to a meeting in Dubai, that when I arrived in the conference room, it was only those people from the Gulf petrochemical industry with those turbans and everything else, and it was all male, all male. The only female was the lady that was opening the door, and then I had to negotiate with the cousin of the Saudi Arabian prince, and the guy had negotiated me. I need to have the authorization of my husband. Then I said, if my husband doesn't give me the authorization, how does it work? And then he said, then you need to have the authorization of your brother. I said, what if I don't have a brother? Then an uncle. And then I said, what if I don't have an uncle? You need a man, do you understand? I said, I do, but I'm not going.
But that's the reality.
And I told my boss, he said, no, but it's good for you. I said, no, you don't know what's good for me. I'm a mother, right? I have a husband, I have a family, I have 2 small kids. I'm not going. I'm not going. And I think all of us, we had to say some no's. We have to, and fight for things. And fight for what you believe. But again, don't give them that power. Don't give anyone the power. Even people that know you and yes, pick up your battles, but never ever give anyone the power to decide what you need to do in your life. That's something that I think.
No, that was the first thing that came to mind when I was less uncomfortable, right there.
What part of your identity did you have to shed in order to grow and lead with greater impact?
That's a good one, actually. I'll go somewhat with Sergio because I think well, we happen to share the same island, and I think if you leave, in this case, the island of Curaçao to come to the Netherlands, I think you're being very much programmed to be risk averse because you need to be successful in a certain way, and that is basically you'll either go study law, or you're going to study economics, or you become a medical doctor, and that's basically it. And I think trying to be something, thinking more out of the box, what actually motivates you. I felt as being very uncomfortable, but actually I had to let go. I had to let go of the expectations of, I won't say narrow-minded people, but the people that obviously has a certain way of thinking about success and a certain way of thinking about their own failure, which in this case happens to be my family, at least my aunts and uncles and father. Therefore thinking about my own way of what drives me, what makes me think. That's actually it's been pretty uncomfortable, but at the same time probably contributed quite significantly to that.
Thank you for the question. How do people react? Depends as well. If you're asking how do people react to female entrepreneurship, I always go back to entrepreneurship. How do people react to a leader or entrepreneur that looks like me? People definitely react differently. Yes, for sure. Because sometimes it's not that they want you to be at your place, stay at your place, and know where your place is. They want to create a place or create a box and put you in that box. So how to react to it is what I would advise anyone, especially the young entrepreneurs that are here with us today. I would tell them to do not let anyone define who you are and put you in a box. Do not let them create a box and put you in that box because you do not belong in the box. And especially if it's to the female entrepreneurs, I would say do not wait for someone to invite you at a table. Create your own table. Yeah.
People recognize that when you walk in the door, that you send that energy on. So you're real when you're real. And I can also sense that, or people can sense that. So you can't go in defensive, you can't go in as a victim, because I recognize that. And you gotta go in knowing that you're as good as anybody else, you're good as you feel, and the confidence will show. You can't fake that. So it allows you now to work on those weaknesses, those things you have to work on. Maybe even twice as good, so you have the confidence going in, and that you don't sit in the corner and stand back, or you're sheepish. You have to go to the sheepish look, or not look, but movement or walk about yourself. I'm not going to just keep sending that message off. So you got to be authentic. And when you're real, you're real, and people